Why are moderates, centrists so disliked in politics? Check out the book, Why We're Polarized, by Ezra Klein if you are interested in this topic. It's not explicitly about your question, but it does cover the reasoning. Anyone can call themselves a moderate, and it really doesn't mean anything other than that the person disagrees some of the time. My cousin calls himself a moderate. He also calls former President Obama the no-word-in-chief. He has only ever voted Republican and Libertarian. He used to protest at women's health clinics. From an American leftist's point of view, I can say this. Extreme dislike for centrists is mostly due to the Democratic Party, who have been running on a very centrist, center-right platform since Bill Clinton, which has led to the working class having no representation. Another reason is that while many claim to be centrist, those same people just end up voting Republican. Depends on what you are in the center of two reasonable sides. Cool, one reasonable side and one insane side? Very not cool. If you're not with me, you're against me. I once thought I was a moderate and turns out, I'm extreme left. I thought everyone also thought everyone deserved food, housing, education, and healthcare. Turns out, I was very wrong. Most people hate other people. I think it's mostly economics. Centrists pick and choose culture issues but ultimately are conservative economically and like keeping the status quo as it benefits them. As a European who has lived in America for some time, I would say that a lot of moderate, centrist views would be considered right-wing in other countries. American politics is skewed very right, even though people here don't recognize it. The internet is home to extremely out-of-touch ideologues. In reality, most Americans fancy themselves moderates because centrism trends towards conservatism. Example, MLK said it best. Guys, if we just meet in the middle, it'll be all good. You can't meet in the middle on things like someone's rights. You can't meet in the middle on allowing legalized bribery in politics. There's no way to form a middle ground with people that believe a national election was rigged against them with no evidence. Moderates try to find a middle where there isn't one. Try to form a middle ground with someone that wants to do nothing but take your rights away. See how far that gets you. Seems like some people like to place themselves in some middle ground position and portray everyone else as occupying the extremes. Not every issue comes down to two competing sides where the correct solution is somewhere in the middle. Sometimes the facts necessitate taking an extreme position. Taking the middle ground is not an indicator of fairness or neutrality. Many times it comes across as ignorance. Most people don't know what centrists are. They think it's someone that can't decide between two things and chooses the middle ground every time. They see it as, this group likes racism. This group doesn't. Centrists would want the middle ground and say we should have some racism but not a lot. Not true. It's someone that can pick which ideas that they think are good no matter where they come from. They could be pro-choice, anti-immigration, pro-union, anti-taxes, pro-LGBTQ, pro-Christianity, anti-gun, pro-minimum wage. They're not held captive by party lines or identity politics. My real problem is that most people who call themselves centrist, moderate, are neither and are using it as a guise to hide their true political leanings so they don't have to be burdened with the social stigma for their actual ideals. Because the right in America is much further right than mainstream right-wing parties in other similar countries. So, for the most part, Democrats would be much closer to a conservative party in Western Europe and Canada. So the moderate position in America is a pretty conservative one as it is. So what are you being a moderate of? The other side is authoritarianism and fascism. I think centrism has a particularly cynical and useless place in the context of American politics. Because of how far right our Overton window has been shifted, a lot of mainstream conservative ideas here are significantly further right than a lot of countries. So you have the Democrats, which are basically diet conservative, and you have the conservatives, so when you meet somewhere in the middle you're still pretty far to the right. Also, a lot of these people are just conservatives who don't like the social implication or the idea that they're maybe not a good person. Everyone on both sides dislikes something about the country and how it's run. Obviously, if you think change is necessary, you're not going to like the people who are standing in your way, feel like everything's fine the way it is. That means each side dislikes the other. Who wants to change things in the opposite direction? And both sides dislike the center. Who doesn't want change at all? I don't know how disliked they are. They have a difficult time getting into general elections because the primaries are contested. Within each party, passionate and ideological party members are most likely to vote in primaries. A Second Amendment Democrat or a pro-choice Republican has a difficult time getting votes in the primary. First, I must confess that over the past few years I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace which is the absence of tension to a positive peace which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, "I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action," who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. I had hoped that the white moderate would understand that law and order exist for the purpose of establishing justice, and that when they fail in this purpose they become the dangerously structured dams that block the flow of social progress. I had hoped that the white moderate would understand that the present tension in the South is a necessary phase of the transition from an obnoxious negative peace, in which the Negro passively accepted his unjust plight, to a substantive and positive peace, in which all men will respect the dignity and worth of human personality. Actually, we who engage in nonviolent direct action are not the creators of tension. We merely bring to the surface the hidden tension that is already alive. We bring it out in the open, where it can be seen and dealt with. Like a boil that can never be cured so long as it is covered up, but must be opened with all its ugliness to the natural medicines of air and light. Injustice must be exposed, with all the tension its exposure creates, to the light of human conscience and the air of national opinion before it can be cured. https://www.africa.upenn.edu/articlesgin/letterbirmingham.html and this https://www.youtube.com/watch v equals OCULE5LDPVM. This comment section pretty accurately displays why centrists are so disliked in politics. I've seen the 10 top comments saying something along the lines of, "Most people are centrists. People on both sides are crazy. The extremes are two sides of the same coin." When you start equating people who stormed the Capital in an attempt to overturn an election to people who want healthcare. You're clearly losing your mind. Indecision in a battle between oppressed and oppressor is siding with the oppressor.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. EPIC is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.